Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, December 11th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Cotton Bowl game against Missouri is in 18 days. The game against Michigan in 355 days. We get inspiration for this show from a lot of different places. You do enough of these shows, you have to find inspiration from a lot of different places. The inspiration from this one came from a text from our buddy Mark Givler from BuckeyeHuddle.com, who said, quote, I put out a tweet this week about guessing the starting 11 on offense for the Cotton Bowl, and someone requested a podcast about that. Today, we are going to fill that request because this is one of those things where towards the end of the year, you would assume you got a pretty good sense for who's going to be starting because you've seen a whole year of these teams. You know who's hurt, you know who's not. Well, it's a little more complicated than that this time of year. What with the transfer portal, potential opt-outs, which we still have not heard any of yet from the Ohio State side, and all the other different factors that go into these kinds of decisions. So today we're going to be trying to take a run at who is going to be starting for Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. We're doing that with our buddy Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tony, this is a surprisingly difficult exercise for a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah, first I like the Make-A-Wish aspect of this that we're doing. Like somebody has thrown this out. Please do this podcast. We're like, okay, we will do this for you. We will fulfill that wish. But so much of this is going to be educated guessing, and I'm never going to say uneducated guessing. I will just say guessing. I don't want to throw cast aspersions on both of us, myself or you. But there is some aspects of just expecting stuff to happen and maybe thinking maybe stuff won't, and trying to put all of this into a nice little goulash of a starting 11 on offense.
All right. Well, let's start with quarterback, because quarterback is the spot where, you're kind of contractually obligated to start. And the guy who has started all the games for Ohio State this year is no longer at Ohio State. So we know it's not going to be Kyle McCord. We know they can't bring in anyone from the transfer portal. And we know who the number 2 quarterback has been all season. So this one feels, for a spot where it's not going to be the guy who started every game this year, this one feels like one of the easier decisions we're going to have to make here.
Oh, Tom, don't ever say that. Don't ever say something is going to be an easy decision. But I would agree. And just because it's easy doesn't mean it's going to be right. I'm going to go Devin Brown, being that he is the most experienced. Aside from Tristan Gebbia, I don't think we're going to throw him into this starting mix. But I do think it will be Devin Brown starting in the Cotton Bowl for Ohio State. But I also expect Lincoln Kienholz to play. You got to get him out there, let him play, let him. If you're going to throw a bunch of practice time at him, may as well throw some game time at him as well. Just don't waste a bunch of practice and then not get him involved in the game. I don't care if it's close or not. In fact, I think if you have an opportunity where it's you get a punt down at the 7-yard line and you want to throw Lincoln Kienholz out there 1st and 10 from your own 7, do it. See what happens. See what he can do for you. You're losing 2 games this year isn't going to be any different than losing 1 because of the one that you lost.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this Ryan Day talked about the fact that job number 1 is win the Cotton Bowl. To me, job number 1 is the first part of spring practice for 2024 and getting yourself as ready as you can to win games in 2024. I think you should see both of these guys. Devin Brown, I would expect to be the first guy out there based on the fact that he was number 2 on the depth chart whenever he was healthy, based on the fact that he leads the team in pictures of Cortez tweeted. He would certainly expect him to be sticking around for the bowl game at this point. So I think I'm expecting Devin Brown, but yeah, I would think Lincoln Kienholz should be getting meaningful snaps in this game, not just garbage time snaps. I think you gotta, if he shows that he's ready for it during the bowl prep, I think you got to put him out there and just start putting reps on film and have stuff to teach off of for the spring. So all right, so that's quarterback. Now running back, and Tony, Ohio State's once extremely deep running back room of 5 returning starters or 5 returning players this year is now down to 2 guys in the portal. One guy declared for the NFL and has a season-ending injury. So I guess this is a question of Travion Henderson, Dallin Hayden. Who is the starting running back for Ohio State?
Tom, what if they start and 21 personnel and they both start. I think the real question, the biggest question is Travion Henderson playing in the game? And I am going to say yes, in which case I have him as my starting running back based on the hearsay going around and possibility that he may be returning. I'm going to buy into that until I hear more of the other way. And I will say that he is Ohio State's starting running back with a confidence of less than 1 out of 10, probably 4.65, Tom.
I think it's pretty irresponsible to base your pick on hearsay. I personally am also going to go with Travion Henderson, but I'm going to do it based on the scuttlebutt rather than the hearsay because I'm a professional. And yeah, I think I'm smack dab at a 5 out of 10 on the confidence level there, maybe 5.5. Henderson said late last week, or it was reported late last week, that Henderson had not made a decision yet on whether to return. Sure. I mean, I think he's as good a guess as any right now because if he turns pro, there's no guarantee that he sits out. And so, yeah, I think he would be my pick there. Wide receiver. Marvin Harrison told us last Thursday he has not made a decision on the Cotton Bowl. He has not made his decision on the 2024 season. Emeka Egbuka is another person who could turn pro and could opt out. We don't know yet. Julian Fleming in the portal, so he is, safely a no at this point. Where are you with Ohio State's 3 starting wide receivers?
One thing I do want to do is we don't need to assume just because somebody may be turning pro that they won't be playing in the game. Like you don't have to automatically opt out if you're going to turn pro early. So I'm going to keep Emeka Egbuka alive in that, and I'm not convinced that he's turning pro yet. Anyway, I would be surprised if he doesn't, but also I'm not expecting Marvin Harrison to play in this game, so I'm going to rule him out. And I'll throw one starting receiver at you, Tom, because I think Emeka Egbuka, whether he goes or he stays, this is a game that he could use to help bolster his draft stock. And so why not come back for one more chance to build up those numbers one way or another? Either you're coming or you're going. Doesn't matter. If you're going, then use this game to not necessarily have the Jackson Smith-Njigba Rose Bowl, but you can go ahead and put up some numbers and be on the minds of a lot of NFL people out there by playing in this game. And it's just one more time to be showcased.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of Emeka Egbuka potentially playing again. I'm with you. I'm not expecting Marvin Harrison to play. We'll see how that decision finally gets made and how that all shakes out. And if and when we hear about that, we'll, of course, let you know. But yeah, I'm with you on Emeka Egbuka. I think Carnell Tate would be my second choice for a wide receiver. And I think, I don't know if I'm going off the board or if this is the chalk pick here. I think you get a senior captain, Xavier Johnson. I think he gets the start. You throw him in the slot, maybe. I mean, you kind of have, Tate's. You could play any three, any of the 3 in the slot, but throw Egbuka outside, throw Tate outside, and put Xavier Johnson in the slot. And you're going to see a bunch of other guys during the course of the game as well. But that would be my guess. Any disagreement there?
No disagreement. And really, from what I've been saying in terms of Emeka Egbuka's draft stock, him wanting to play or him showing what he can do outside, it would also help him. So that fits right in line with that. Yeah, I think if those 3 are available, that is your starting trio, obviously with Xavier Johnson in the slot, unless they go, with 2 tight ends, in which case now we're just talking semantics. But I'm with you on those 3 receivers for sure.
All right, so tight end now. Cade Stover, draft eligible. Will Cade Stover play in the Cotton Bowl? Will Cade Stover play in the 2024 season for Ohio State or in the NFL? That feels like that's sort of really the only real question here, because if not, you sort of have your pecking order after that. So, Tony, why don't you spoil the surprise? Is Cade Stover going to start in the Cotton Bowl or not?
It's uncaptain-like, Tom, to opt out, and even more than that, it's unfarmer-like to opt out. Farmers don't have the option of opting out. They've got to work every day. They've got to be in the fields. They've got to be in the barn. They've got to be with the animals. They can't just take a day off. They can't take a bowl off, Tom, If they take a bowl off, people don't eat. All right. So I don't see Cade Stover opting out of this one. I see him finishing out his career playing with his brothers, doing what a captain does.
Replace the old Iowa sticker with an ONF sticker on the back of the Ohio State helmet. Ohio State needs farmers. I'm with you. I think Cade Stover plays at least one more game for Ohio State. I do think there's a legitimate conversation about whether he turns pro or comes back. He's the kind of guy you could see coming back. He's getting drafted somewhere, but you could see him coming back for one more year at Ohio State. And with the realities of modern college football, that is a much more appealing option than it used to be. If you're not, projected as a first round pick, that becomes much more of a legitimate question than it used to be. So we will see on that. But yeah, I would expect Cade Stover to be there. If not, it's G. Scott. And I think you're going to see a decent amount, maybe, of Jelani Thurman, at least some Jelani Thurman, kind of on the same, because Joe Royer is in the transfer portal. So Jelani Thurman would probably be your third tight end at this point, even with Cade Stover there. And I think sort of on the same, in the same way that I would be in favor of playing Lincoln Kienholz, even if he's not the starter. I think you got to get Jelani Thurman a bunch of work, because Jelani Thurman's going to have a much bigger role, I would guess, in next year's Ohio State offense. So, all right, so that's tight end. Offensive line was the position group where there were maybe some of the most questions all year. This might be the position group where there are the fewest questions for this one. There's only one guy who is definitely out of eligibility. That's Matt Jones. I don't think he's going to opt out. And I don't know that there's anyone else. I mean, Donovan Jackson could turn pro. I don't know that I'm expecting that. I mean, what do you think about the Ohio State offensive line? Is it going to be the same five guys it has been all season, or is there going to be a shuffle there somewhere?
Yeah, and it has been the same five guys in every single game. And just because people were projecting Donovan Jackson to be an early entrant after this year before the season, like, you don't have to stick with that. You can watch and see how the line played and see that nobody here should be turning pro early. So I do expect everybody to play. I expect Donovan Jackson to return. Although, Tom, we have been disappointed or surprised by other players, offensive linemen in the recent history, leaving early when they probably shouldn't. So perhaps those cautionary tales will help out the decision-making this time around. But yeah, I expect all five to play. If Matt Jones opts out, then you're setting a brand new precedent on who should be opting out, because it used to be just the top of the first round, the first rounders. And then you would just be like, oh, if you plan on playing in the NFL in the future, you should not play beyond the regular season if it's not the playoffs. And I don't think that's where we necessarily need to go.
Yeah, and Donovan Jackson did not have a great season this year. I mean, you can go through, if you want to look at the PFF ratings, you'll get one kind of impression of his season. But I think he's not leaving to be a first round pick if he leaves to go. I think there's a pretty good argument to be made for him to come back. And, we have been, as you said, we have been surprised by offensive line decisions before. I think if Luke Whippler had things to do all over again, he might make a different decision, because that one was one that surprised everyone, not just us, but the coaching staff as well. And he was inactive on Sunday for the Browns, and has played in, I looked it up, he's played in 3 games, and I think all on special teams, and not on, has yet to take a snap on offense this year. And boy, I think the Ohio State offense looks a little better this year if Luke Whippler is your center and Carson Hinsman doesn't get thrown in there a year earlier than everyone was sort of expecting. So you would think there's probably like you said, a little bit of a cautionary tale there that maybe hang on, try and put another better year of film out there before you go turn pro. But we'll see. And Luke Whippler's making more than I am this year, so I guess I can't be too critical. He is and has a 4-year contract and all that. So there are arguments on both sides of that. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm expecting the same 5 offensive linemen probably as usual. So that is the offense. We will probably do a defense show at some point this week. That's a whole separate conversation, because there's a lot of interesting draft decisions and opt-out decisions coming, especially on the defensive line. Across the line, you could see anywhere from all 4 of those 2021 defensive linemen turn pro to maybe only 1 or 2. We'll keep an eye on that for you and probably come back with another show on that a little later on the week. We're also going to be talking to the Buckeyes a little later on this week. Probably get a better sense from a lot of them on where this is sort of headed for them and for various different guys. Be keeping an eye on the transfer portal. Be keeping an eye on recruiting. Early signing day now just 9 days away. So going to be a very, very busy couple weeks at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tony and Kevin and I covering the team. Mark covering recruiting. Ross and Devin and Mickey and Justin covering X's and O's, making you a smarter football fan, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.